Today on TNT Big Show, we could be living through the next great renaissance of Final Fantasy. All today on TNT Big Show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is me, Michelle Nantucket.
And this is Sean.
Welcome to TNT Big Show, and let's get right into it. And at the Nintendo Direct, one of the games that Nintendo showed off, well, from Square Enix, Final Fantasy Resonance. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, this is based on a mobile game. Somewhat. It's actually very much expanded. It is based on a mobile game, but it's much more fleshed out, much more complete and big. So don't worry, it's not just going to be the same thing. But a lot of people are excited. The pre-orders are doing very well, especially on Switch 2 and Switch 1. Even PS5 pre-orders are doing well. The thing is that this is something that a lot of Final Fantasy fans have just been waiting years for. This is a traditional, fantasy-based, turn-based Final Fantasy game. It looks like one of the old Super Nintendo games. And believe me, a lot of fans are very excited for it. And I can't wait. I cannot wait myself. It comes out October 22nd for the Switch 2, regular Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. And physical, now the only place you're going to be able to get it physical are PlayStation 5, Switch, and Switch 2.
And likely to sell on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, because here's another thing. Final Fantasy Tactics is well over 1 million copies sold now. I think 1.3 million units now. As Square Enix said, they only expected to sell 800,000 within 1 year. And yes, the Switch and Switch 2 versions were the big sellers. But the PS5 version did okay. It did. And the PC version did pretty well. But see, the thing is, it showed Square Enix that people still have an appetite for old school Final Fantasy.
Nintendo fans specifically.
Yeah, because you gotta remember, we grew up on Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the PlayStation fans got into it with 7, 8, 9 and stuff.
Yeah, we got into it with the very first 3.
Yeah, 6 actually. You gotta remember, 3 was actually 6. It was just called 3 here in America. But you're right, 3 over here, but worldwide 6. You know, in Japan there was 6 of them.
Yeah.
And Nintendo fans, we were the ones cutting our teeth on these games.
And it was Shigeru Miyamoto who helped make the first one.
Yeah, he did actually. So Nintendo has a long history of Final Fantasy, and it's good to see it come back home because according to Square Enix, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade has already sold 1.7 million units, and the large majority of those were on the Switch 2. And now Rebirth is off to a very good start, according to Square Enix again. They said that the Switch 2 version is carrying the sales right now. Square Enix's strategy of bringing Final Fantasy over to Nintendo and PC and stuff seems to be working. Oh, and I think this will sell 3 million units. I think this is going to be a big seller. And I think Square, what you can do, because Final Fantasy, one of the things that has hurt Final Fantasy is the lack of releases. Do what Nintendo does with Zelda. Do a remake or a remaster. Do a spin-off. Final Fantasy Tactics. Why not do a new one? Not just a remake, but a brand new Final Fantasy Tactics. Do an HD 2D Final Fantasy game. And then if you want to make the numbered ones like 17, if you want to make it like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you know, action RPG, okay, fine. But the thing is that there's still an audience out there for old school Final Fantasy. There are PlayStation fans from the original PlayStation who loved Final Fantasy 7 through 10.
Yeah, but the majority of them today don't.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, that of course there are Nintendo fans because we grew up on the old Final Fantasy games. But there are even PlayStation fans. I know a lot of them nowadays don't care about Final, you know,
No,
they don't
give
sadly.
a spit about it.
Yeah, but there are still those out there who love traditional Final Fantasy games. And I think, Square, you were missing a big opportunity. You were just leaving money on the table. And yes, my brother's right. RPG fans are more handheld players now. Because RPGs take so much time to complete and people are on the go mostly, they're not going to have time to just sit at home all the time and play on their PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why the Switch 2 and Switch 1 sell so many RPGs. Look at Cyberpunk. Look how that sold on the Switch 2, and Dragon Quest, and Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy Tactics. So yes, I think it was very smart of Square to say, hey, you need to bring these games to systems now.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy Revelations is coming out in spring of next year. I guarantee you that's going to be a big dog seller. And when you take a look at the Switch 2 version, we got Switch 2 screenshots from Square Enix's own website. It really looks dang close to the PS5 and PC version. It looks that good. And with the new Unreal Engine 5.8, which was specifically made to help handheld devices like the Switch 2 be able to run more advanced games at 60 frames per second, even in handheld mode. So, Square Enix, I would love to see that. I think we could live through another great renaissance of Final Fantasy. If you just take my advice, Square, make those strategy, tactics. Fire Emblem has shown that tactical strategy games can sell. And now Final Fantasy Tactics is already over 1.3 million units. It'll sell 2 million easy.
Yeah, it will.
And I think you guys, like once every 4 years, bring out a Final Fantasy Tactics game. And then bring out a remake or something of an old Final Fantasy game. Get people to know Final Fantasy again, and then watch its popularity go back up. Because people, unfortunately, have very short attention spans. And that's why Nintendo tries to get a Zelda game out almost every year. So that way Zelda is in your conscience, it's still in the front of your mind and stuff. Because when I was growing up, Final Fantasy was in the top 10 big dogs. Of course you had Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon. You had games like that, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, but Final Fantasy was in there as well. And now it's not. But Square Enix has a chance to rebuild this franchise. Bringing it over to Nintendo, and I know some people may not like to hear this. You always say this because of Nintendo. Yes, because it's the truth. Bringing it over to Nintendo was the smartest thing that Square Enix has done. Because a lot of the majority of RPG players now play handheld games. Because RPGs are so big and stuff, people don't just sit at home anymore.
Well, let's be honest, Michelle. You're saying handheld games. Final Fantasy only sells on one handheld, the Switch. It don't sell on the other ones.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well, just say Nintendo Switch and Switch.
Well, yeah, the Switch and Switch 2. But seriously, though, it is the handheld factor of the Switch that really helps it with RPGs. Because that way you can have people who are like, hey, I gotta go somewhere. You know what? I'll take my Switch 2 with me, and I'll play some Final Fantasy, or Xenoblade, or Fire Emblem, or Cyberpunk, or I can fill in the blanks, Yeah, I know what you mean, Let's face it, it is the Switch that...
It is. And who's going to buy a $1,500 or a $2,000 or a $1,300 handheld just to play Final Fantasy? I don't see that happening anywhere.
Yeah, but, the Switch 2, on the other hand, that happens. And it's because the Switch 2 is a powerful machine for the price especially for the price you pay and stuff. And the fact that it can hold its own against the PS5 and PC. But if Square can just listen to me, Square, I'm trying to help you. Like I said, the big number ones, if you want them to push graphics and have a mixture of menus and action RPG elements, I can understand that, I can. But do not take the turn-based Final Fantasy fan base for granted. And HD 2D, just look at Octopath Traveler. Look at how that sells. Look at how Final Fantasy Tactics is selling. I know I've said that again. I'm going to keep saying it. And I think Resonance is going to sell at least 3 million, maybe even more. I think it's going to be a big seller, I do. Because I think that there's a lot of old people, there's a lot of fans who still love their old school Final Fantasy. They like the new one. Some people do, some people don't. But even people who like the new one, they still want their old school Final Fantasy. You listen to me, Square, and you will be making money hand over fist. And Final Fantasy will have its name back up there as one of the big guns, because unfortunately it has fallen off, you know, I mean, it has, let's face facts. But I think if Square Enix can do what I'm suggesting, and even remake a couple of older games, especially games that may not be as beloved anymore, kind of bring them up to speed for modern audiences, and give them some gorgeous 2D, HD 2D graphics, you could see those things turn into new classics and sell like crazy. Just a suggestion, Square Enix, just a suggestion. Hey, I want you guys to make money. And I want you to do that by making quality Final Fantasy games that will appease the fans. I know, crazy. This is me, Michelle Lynn Tackett, and my buddy Sean. We'll all talk to you later. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying to the end of the video and watching it. If you like all of our videos, don't you join our other social medias like TikTok, Discord, Reddit, Instagram, Thread, X, and our WordPress blog. You can also support us by joining Patreon for as little as $1 a month, where you will get exclusive content, uncut videos, behind the scenes, watch that trailer, Jack's Joke of the Week, and my sports input. If you join the $25 tier, I will send you an autographed copy of The Buzzies for free. If you love horror movies and independent content, we're a great place to come and visit, because we love supporting other independent creators and stuff. When you support us, you're supporting people who do all of this by ourselves. Me, Michelle, I'm the editor, I'm the director of the videos, I'm the producer, Sean's the executive producer and content creator. So thank you, everybody, and please look into supporting our Patreon, as it really does help out. Just $1 a month. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.